Yo, what's up? It's yours truly, King of the Groove, RS Smooth. You're logged on to blacknsnews.ca because there's always more to the story.
Oh, honey, we're about to get very busy up in
I just always had a love for music and radio, and one day, see, my father had his own business, and he always used to like take me around when he was doing errands, and every time he'd run in somewhere, he'd turn the key back on the truck and leave the radio playing. So I always used to scan the dial, and one day I came up on CKDU, and I was like, what is this station? It just sounded different than every other station, and I realized, doing a little research, it's a Dalhousie University's community campus station, which you can volunteer to play music. And I was like, what? I would love to do that. So I just, inquired about how I could go about doing that. They brought me up here to train. They let me sit in with somebody else that was kind of like just to get experience, but it wasn't the type of show I wanted. But I knew of this show on Sunday called Funk and Effect with DJ Delight, aka Kendall Mulder, rest in peace. But I called him up one day and just like, hey, I'm looking to get some experience. Do you mind if I come in and sit in on your show? And he was like, yeah, come on in. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then I came, that week, and I was, I loved it, every part about it. And then he asked me to come back the next week, and I was like, what? Like, really? So then suddenly that just became 4 years for me co-hosting the show with him. But unfortunately, we had some guests come in and whatever, something happened, and we basically got in trouble for something our guests did, and they kind of kicked us off the air. And that was Funk and Effect. That was like the end of '97, and it was like a suspension for like 1 year. And then funny thing, at the time I was in a course for radio television arts, so it just was stupid for me to be in this course and not have a radio show to do. So I got a few people, including my teacher at the time, to kind of write a letter to kind of appeal the suspension. Then they cut it to 6 months. So June of 1998 was when I was eligible to kind of be back on CKDU. And I always wanted to have my own show, so I just kind of pursued it. And then that was where Smooth Grooves was born. And at the time, I kind of tried to do it like, if you know anything about BET, Black Entertainment Television, I kind of wanted it to be like the BET of Halifax radio because, there was no R&B, there was no rap or reggae being played on the radio. I think it proved that it did fill a void. Like there wasn't, like I mentioned, any of that music regularly played on the radio. Even in 2023, you could say that, right, in Halifax. But so I think it did kind of, based on the calls, and it seemed like it got popular that way. People heard music they wanted to hear. They knew that they weren't hearing anywhere else. So I think it did fulfill that.
Oh, and that's kind of what I want to ask, because you would have started here in 94 when you...
When I first came was 93, and then, but Smooth Grooves was 98. So.
Do you guess how old you were in 93? Maybe
I was 15. Yeah. I think definitely CKDU as a whole, because it wasn't just Smooth Grooves or even Funk and Effect at the time. There were other shows that were doing that, some that are a little more focused to just like, say, rap music and hip-hop, where Funk and Effect was more like funk, R&B. But then when I came there, I kind of brought more of the rap and more of the reggae, and obviously some more R&B as well. And then Smooth Grooves was like hip-hop soul, which is kind of like rap flavored R&B flavored rap. But then obviously rap and reggae and that kind of thing. So I think, especially with local artists, I think we helped that way, because I always had like an open door for artists to come in and get their music showcased. So I would hope that the show and the station in general helped. Yeah, basically just something that isn't mainstream, either because no one discovered it yet, or it just doesn't have the promotion that a major label would have to promote the songs. That most of the songs you hear on the radio, even today, are popular because they have something behind them to make them popular. Although with things like TikTok and YouTube and other streaming services, that does influence radio play. But back then it was just like, there would be like, especially certain artists would have their own, like if you're talking about Nova Scotian artists, like they would have their own following. And so you kind of would see that. You go to a show and you see it packed and like, who's this? Or so you try to take that music either before they did the show or as they were doing the show, make sure you play it on your show, because that obviously will bring their audience to you and vice versa. So the recording part, someone just said that to me Friday night I was DJing at Toothy Moose, and the bouncer was just like, I still, have tapes of when I recorded your show, and something about, I shouted out somebody, a friend of theirs, there's like, I still have that tape. So like, that's, the difference now, like, these days, yes, it's so accessible. You can just search something and usually find it. But back then, it was like you had to listen to the radio for when that song came on and then, record it. And people would request it, hey, can you play that again or play that next week or whatever, that kind of thing. So it was all about recording it back then just so they could have it for their own playback.
But in terms of like a cannabis freestyle or Tony Touch and stuff like that, like I got to think you were the sole source for that around here.
Yeah. I mean, again, there were other DJs and other shows doing things, but yeah, I think CKDU as a whole, I think helped with the scene, with the various shows. So I would never just, be like, it was just me, but like there were other people for sure that were out there as well. But yeah, I would hope that Smooth Grooves had a part of it. Which is a blessing. I think that was definitely from the radio, and even linking with DJ Delight at the time. He had a great following in the Black community, so that kind of helped introduce me to that community as well. I mean, we've definitely, especially even one thing I think CKDU needs more of now is more like involvement from the students. So like back then there was even Dalhousie related like student groups that used to do whatever, various things, events. So we've always allowed, the community to come in. I love it when they come in personally, but whether they call or even just forward the information so we can announce it to the audience. There's like, rallies we've been a part of by announcing it and talking about it here and then actually, taking part in it and stuff like that. Just various cultural related things, groups that used to come in and, announce their event, and then we would be there too, and then come back the next week and talk about it and that kind of thing. So yeah, we've always, and still continue to keep the door open for any community group that wants to announce it, whether it's, for profit or not, but preferably for not. But yeah.
So do you do interviews outside of just music art?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I can cover whatever. I mean, we try to keep it relevant to the audience, or, I try to make it like, if the audience hears this, hopefully they'll, take part in or participate in some kind of way. So yeah. When I did the first wall, it was basically from 93 to 96, getting ready to graduate high school. I was like, I want to do this and kind of be like taken seriously and become professional. So how do I do that? And at the time there was 2 different courses. One here in Halifax that was like $10,000, and then one in the Valley that was about $1,000. So I was like, I didn't have $10,000, so I guess I had to go to the Valley, which was a blessing because at first, I was only younger, so I was like, I don't want to go to the country, but whatever. But it was a blessing because it kept me away from all distractions. All I did was like work, it seemed, and it was really cool that way. I got to dive right into that course, and that was the Radio Television Arts course in King's Tech campus in Kentville.
So is this the same program that you now work for?
Yeah, so in 2007, that program moved from Kentville to Dartmouth Waterfront campus, which is now the Ivany campus. And in 2017, I succeeded my former instructor, Dave Vanderman, by becoming the radio instructor of now it's called Radio Television Journalism program. I've always kind of think of the show as like a home base. So like, no matter what's going on, blah, 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 most people can hear me like that Sunday, whatever. So there's been so many events and concerts and, all those kind of things, and getting to like kind of help promote it and help get the word out and also be a part of it, whether it's opening or hosting or both or whatever. And then, getting to meet some of these people that have come here. And
a lot of people.
Yeah. But also, like, because I was taking this serious and wanted to be professional and actually graduated from the course, like I worked for like King's College and CBC, and then for some commercial stations that are here in the city, like C100, which is now Move 100, and 101.3 The Bounce, which is now Virgin Radio, and like, it went through so many name changes, but what was that called? Z103, or it was so many different things. Now it's Hot Country. What was it? Energy and whatever. So now it's Hot Country and then Q104. So working with these commercial stations gave me even more opportunities, like C100 back in 2004. When they used to, I don't know if they do these anymore, the Much Music Video Awards. That was like a part of the company that owned that station. So they did this contest and said, we have 2 winners. You get a all expenses paid weekend in Toronto to see the Much Music Video Awards. So they gave that contest away, but they needed somebody to accompany the winners to Toronto and kind of help them out with everything. So they picked me. I was like, what? But then my whole idea the whole time was, okay, cool, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to take a recorder because I know Kanye West is going to be there among other people. And this is when Kanye was just becoming like, I think his first album had come out, College Dropout, but he wasn't like obviously on the level that he is now. So like there was no media room. I honestly think that I inspired the MMVAs to do a media room because I was backstage and, people are walking and I'm finding people, hey, what's up? So I see Kanye, I'm like, oh my God, Kanye West, John Legend. And they came right over to me and did like a radio drop for me and stuff. Now this is, again, 2004 before social media, so I wasn't even thinking of taking a picture or anything like that. I wish I did, but at least I got the radio drop. So like I just noticed I was at the MMVAs back-to-back, 2004, 2005, and I did those things. And then when I was back there in 2010, suddenly there's a media room and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, and the artists come in. It's just like almost like sports, after their thing, they come in and they're in front of the media scrum and people ask them questions and take pictures and that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So, yeah. The first time I think I actually DJ'd at something was like either in 90 or 91. And the only reason I really remember that is, and I know people don't like to talk about it now, but it was when R. Kelly's Born in the 90s album came out, so Vibe, that song, and why, there was a guy named Missy from our community, Tory Wright. He used to take his like stereo, like home stereo equipment and set it up at our rec center in Lakeside. And, and then just let me at the time, play music. So I wasn't necessarily DJing. I was just playing tracks, playing stuff. So that's when I used to play Vibe like 5 times a night. But yeah, so there was that. And then like, I think it was October 92, I actually DJ'd my junior high's dance, so that was before coming to the radio. But yeah.
How did you get good at the turntable aspect? So just through practice? Yeah,
and definitely like linking with, I've been like so many DJs have inspired me from here, and that's one thing I'm always like proud to shout out. So like I say DJ Delight, he, used turntables and was like really good at like mixing and like beat matching and stuff like that. But then there was like Nasty Nuck from North Preston who taught me how to like rock a party just from me seeing him and, watching him and seeing how he did things and what he played and how he played it and stuff like that. So I always, give him credit. Then other like, there's more like scratching and stuff from like Looney Tunes and like Mark Mirage, like seeing them, do what they do. And there's so many other DJs, I'm probably forgetting many, but, those are locally anyway, some people that I kind of got some experience from, and yeah. I think it's good to have an opportunity to do something that you love, like play music, and if people keep asking me to do that and want to pay me, then sure. So I wish it was more lucrative, put it that way, because I would love to like tour, like so. Not just in Canada, like, not just in America, like all over the world. And obviously you would, not to be corny, but, you would get paid in just seeing the different parts of the world. But then obviously I would love to make money from it as well because we all have bills and need to survive. So it's definitely good, like to have a job and then have that kind of as on the side. It can be, really good that way. But I never like to be a slave to like the money part of it, because then I just feel like you might not. I don't want to be at an event and not want to be there because I don't want it, and I'm just there for the money. Because then I've been doing it so long, I could probably just kind of get through it and no one would know like otherwise. But I just feel like attitude wise, it might not be the best thing for you. So yeah, so I try not to just be like, oh, it's always about the money. June of 1998 is when Smooth Grooves first started. So what I've been doing the last few years is just kind of leading up to I usually do one Sunday in June where we kind of acknowledge it's the anniversary of the show. And in the last few years, I just kind of go back from 98 up to now and just play a song from each year that we would have played on Smooth Grooves. So we've done that for the last few years. And I'll do it again this year. I actually put bonus years and say, let's go back to 93 when I first was on CKDU instead of just Smooth Grooves. But this year I also want to play. I asked the community to kind of, and I'm going to actually reach out personally to many artists just to see if they'll record a little clip, and then just talk about the show, whatever you want to say about it, how it might have impacted you, or if you're a former listener, what you used to do, that kind of thing. and then we'll edit them all up and play them throughout the show and stuff like that. So I definitely want to do that. It won't be it'll be next Sunday, June the 18th. That's when we're gonna do the anniversary show. So.
Oh, honey, we're about to get very busy up in here.